KT crash out. In the LPL, we're figuring out who doesn't make it. And of course, in the LEC, a tragedy to the viewership and also the dreams of the Rats. Welcome to this week's Power Spike. Dgon here alongside Jamada and Yamato, and joining us as our extra guest for this week, Mara. And gentlemen, we start as we have the last several weeks in the LEC with Rat Tap. And we went through the multiple different scenarios that Los Ratones could make it on out. Unfortunately, the chips did not fall that way. And it stinks. It came down to the final game with your fate in Fnatic's hands. Of course, just absolute paper hands there, and falls right through the cracks. Yamato, let's start with you. Just kind of this weekend, and kind of recap what it was like winning the first series, losing the second one on Sunday, and having to sit through like all the matches until the very end.
I don't know, but like some Chinese torture method, invented in the BCs, just sitting there watching these games play out, It's just, I find in the end, like the team's losing or not losing. Like the Vitality game obviously was in our hand. That was the one that we needed to just win, and it was close, and we made some mistakes in the game, but that's the nature of BO1. I think we had a very cool draft, it was a fun game. And then like the fucking Shakespearean tragedy played out on the day. Like it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to laugh away the pain. Today it definitely feels worse than the other day, because last night, it sucked, but now it really settled in, like the 9 a.m. alarm. Like I was late to this because it's like I just got stun locked by walls, just like, just staring into the wall, sitting on the toilet, just like no phone, nothing, just staring into the wall. Like, what am I doing with my life? That's just to correct my ship. It's crazy, but the day was so freaky. It's like KCB beat GX, Team Heretics beat KC, and NAVI lost to MKOI, which is like fair play. It's MKOI, it is what it is. They can turn it up. And yeah, when we saw Fnatic was G2, bro, we had no hope already, right?
Oh God,
it was done. Like Fnatic versus G2, where there's like any stakes at all, bro. It's cooked. Yeah. Now the Vitality game, and now we begin to reflect on everything that could have gone different. I said it to the boys too. It's like, what sucks the most is that maybe 3 weeks ago we would think if we get to playoffs somehow we're gonna get like smacked around and bitch slapped. But I feel genuinely that we were getting so much better. The patch feels good too, and I think in terms of like momentum, there's a lot of teams that we could beat in best of threes, and missing out on that just sucks balls. Yeah.
Yamato, let's start with you. Or Jamada, let's start with you. Like,
let's go to Yamato again.
What do you think?
It just really hurts.
Let's cycle back to Yamato. So he could be exact. I mean, yeah. Man, it was watching it yesterday, because I've been torturing myself on watching a majority of the Western games pretty much just live back to back. It's just even down to like the match schedule, and like knowing, like, did you guys even leave the studio? Like, genuine question.
Yeah, we left, bro. Of course, bro. There's no tiebreakers. What should we do in there, bro?
I get okay, but I'm just wondering, because like, hey, like sometimes it's just like that. But it's like the fact that it's, hey, you guys are the opening game of the day, and just for the sake of losing that Vitality match, now you have to sit there, and it's just like that. Like you said, it's the Chinese torture method. It's like you're getting that one like water drop on your forehead like every like 10 seconds, so you can't fall asleep. Like it was just nightmare material. And yeah, the fact that statistically the numbers were the way they were, right? I think before the game it was something like 90%. After your guys' game, it dropped to like technically to 80. It was the low chance roll, right? And yeah, I think that just the progression of LR actually looking like, and that's really the soul crushing thing. They could do something in playoffs. Like they could actually
give
us something
that gets you.
It's the hope that gets you, right? It's the fact that, hey, there was enough development here in these best of ones that it felt like there could have been substance in playoffs. that makes this like extra bittersweet. You look at the first 4 games, like there's just so many like things I can only imagine. Like last night, just swirling around in your guys' brains, in the LR boys' brains, just for the sake of being a comparer and understanding like, I could have done this differently. This could have gone differently, and the irony of this being the only game that you guys had a like realistic lead, like an actual tangible lead, at 14 or 15, whatever metric they use now, to then lose it, it's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking. And then every result lining up for the non-qualification to happen is just, it's hard to put it into words.
Yeah, Nightmare, get in there.
Yeah, I think that's the real painful thing. It's the hope that gets you, but just in terms of the analysis of it, LR won games by dragging them out to late game and beating enemy teams with creativity and actually a significant amount of experience between some of their members. That just didn't happen that last game, which really sucked. You had Baus on Sion, which he was undefeated on in ERLs. It's been banned away from him permanently. You had Velia playing his best game of the split, where I think he had been the weak link before. Great look for him. Bot lane was going pretty well too. All the flags were green. So how the hell did it go wrong in their strongest point? Like, Crowny's getting caught out in mid. That was obviously one big moment, but I think Baus got caught out in the front line a lot too. He struggled to have team fight flanks. Nemesis, that last disaster play. There are enough just awful kind of like individual moments which kind of like collated together, which just made it so heartbreaking, because in any other game this split, that wouldn't have happened. The fact that it happened all in the most important one, where everything's in your hands, and at least to that is just soul-crushing, because it's just not characteristic of them. That's the thing which hurt the most for me.
Yamato?
Me again? Third time, huh? No, it's just, it's like we, in B1s, it's like that you need to have like a range of play, like a lot of our games was, because time was on our side. And like we played a very scrappy game against Vitality. That's not really our strength. So we definitely treaded on new territory against Vitality. They threw some curveballs at us in draft, and I think we adjusted very well. Like we ended up on like a very nice product, I think, draft-wise, even though like it was messy. Like I think like in hindsight, there's some bands I need to change and so forth. But BO1s are like that, right? Like you fall for things only once, like the Mundo into Sion and so forth. But I think we're just like in new territory that forces us to play a very different way. And I think Vitality was just a little bit more experienced in that area, Like we just needed to be like between 15 and 25 minutes. I think we just needed to like take every fight possible. When our Silas was like 6-0, we needed to throw every Bard ult, every E ult on your own, and just like not let this Azir like breathe under the tower. We were just kind of like trading evenly and letting them kill our Sion on side and just waiting for Drakes. And can't be waiting for Drake,
Do you think that the pressure got to them a bit? Because I feel like after you got the first wins in, it looked like there was a lot of pressure which got off the shoulders, and then you went on the win streak. Do you think like the pressure of it all coming down to that last game, do you think that affected those kind of proactive plays? Because I think when the pressure is really on these players, a lot of the time that comes into the bravery to make those big plays in those moments in the game. Do you think that affected them?
Honestly, I think pressure we managed well. I think it was down to pressure. Like I think we were just playing a game that we weren't super practiced on, like we were in like your own scenarios and so forth and scrims, but like we didn't play Silas a single game in scrim, like we haven't been in these draft scenarios, like Virginia has played maybe 300 Silas games in solo queue, was fucking good on it, but we were in some deep waters, and I think just like you replay that game and it will look different because the lessons are like obvious, but it's hard to see them in game. Like you lean into what works, which was the Drake stacking, and even in that game, it's like we win maybe the smite scenario on Soul, and then suddenly the game changes completely, or we have like an ending scenario that just plays out better. Everything plays differently. There's a lot of small things that could have just gone our way, but that's the nature of BO1, It goes both ways. We've had some luck thrown our way too, so can't complain, in that department.
Yeah, I Definitely agree. My kind of final closing thought on this is I'm wondering where the boss call was from Riot, because they've done it a lot for T1 for like 3 years, and it's made sense. But there seemed to be a missing boss call here. There seemed to be a missing boss call here to just, you know, like a brown envelope wasn't left at the Vitality facility, it seems, and that's kind of what makes me a little bit upset. Because now, and I guess we'll touch on it in Galaxy Brain Club a little bit later, but like there's the fallout of this is, like a lot of people just kind of have already started saying LEC's gonna start feeling a little bit weird, like just off no LR. Like it felt like the momentum build wasn't just for you guys, it was actually starting to outreach to even the like super almost anti-LR people too, where it's like, oh, okay, hold on, these guys are serious. This is a competitive team. So I'm wondering there, like, where was the boss call, Riot? Where was the brown envelope that you've set down almost every single end of year for the last 3? For
500
for the big LR.
Yeah, 591,000 peak viewers at the very end. It was the most watched match of the LEC.
Yeah.
Behind 585,000, which was LR versus G2, and 525,000, which was LR versus NAVI, according to esports charts. So again, the impact, I was going to say damage, but we'll say, but the impact will be kind of massive, and the fall will be massive. People were making fun of LCS viewership because I think while it was on, I think it was at like 21,000, and LR was on.
I know what
first place
you're
match.
talking about.
The Super Bowl was happening. There were a lot of reasons why.
That
but
was
also
fucked up too. They just started the broadcast.
Whoa.
The screenshot
we
was kind of
never give up a chance to dunk on old LCS. We never give up a chance for that.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
I protect the LCS, and I've just gotten used to Super Bowl Sunday playing matches on it, and just you don't try to defend it. You just do it, and it sucks. But the contrast was standing up on its own without the Super Bowl dip, because of the impact that this team had, the eyes that it had on it, the spirit that it created from all the characters of the guys, including yourself, Korean streamers following along as well. It is a spectacle to behold. It is done in LEC Versus. What's the next steps here, Yamato, for at least you with the team?
We had our last debrief. We had our last meeting. It's over. Well, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what's gonna be cooked up, or I really don't know. I think like the fact that we don't know means it's more likely that nothing will happen. This is as good as it gets. This is the peak. You're gonna. Bro, look what's happening at NSC. We're gonna play NSC. We got Pachongus, bro. Like, there's no going back down. Like it's. I think this was the pinnacle. This was the peak, and other than that, I think this was it. This was the last season.
Well, we always appreciate you sharing the insights, and when it ends, never one of the worst feelings. It is one of the worst feelings. So appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts on the experiences of Los Ratones. This is the last Rat Tap of 2026 for LEC Versus. Cheers everyone. Pour one out. Yeah, you know what, forget it. Pour one out and get one right now. All right, with that, let's move on up to our next segment here as we move to two teams at the top of LoL esports. Well, at least of the region, one of the top regions of LoL esports, over to AL versus BLG. That's right. Those two squads did battle last week yet again. It looked like maybe a season sweep for BLG. Not the case, though. AL comes out on top in a pretty back and forth series throughout all 3 different matches. And according to the markets over at Polymarket, for winning the season, these are the top 2 teams in the LPL for 2026. Billy Game with a 44% share of the market, and Anyone Legends with 26% share of the market. And that's where we're going to start with our keeper kick, AL or BLG, and we'll caveat it with for the winter split, the qualifier for first stand. Who's better at the end of winter and will qualify as the number 1 seed from the LPL? Will it be BLG or Anyone's Legends? Let's get into this week's keeper kick. All right, Nymera, it's time to shine, baby. You lead us off here.
Okay. So I am so surprised people have so much faith in BLG after they've shown in this regular split. With those kind of numbers, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. BLG have a ton of issues right now. And while they have one of the best potential rosters in LPL history, global history, this is one of those teams you look at Knight and Viper joining, Shun bringing the vibes back. Surely everything should go well. That's just not been the case. I think the biggest thing, which I think is holding them back and why I would favor AL on the other side, is BLG are not the best team fighting team in the LPL. And the team that wins LPL is almost always the team that team fights the best. Regardless of anything else, if you can team fight your way out of a hole, you tend to be okay. And when BLG were best team in the LPL before, that's how they'd often do it. Yes, very good individual players. They could win through laning phase and snowball. Realistically, you can't finish a game without being a very good team fighting team. And when we see almost all of their high tier losses, it's because BLG realize they're a very good side laning team, and they'll play like Pantheon to go into side lanes. And I think Shun has actually been very good. I've enjoyed seeing him. I think I put him as my second best jungler coming out of regular season. That doesn't always translate into team fights, and I think BLG haven't always drafted well for team fights. I think that obviously one of the ways they've tried to draft to team fights was with Azir. That's not really going to work for them, sadly. I've been a bit of a Knight Azir defender, but not to that level. I'm just of the opinion that it's not like turbo trash. I think it's just fine. However, it's not good enough to beat the top tier.
In that game 1, I can tell you that. Like, my opinion shifted.
Plans may shift.
The game 2, I think. Yeah, like plans may shift.
Yeah.
It was my god, his Azir was very bad.
So I think realistically, a lot of it comes down to that. I think BLG are not the best team fighting team in the league anymore, and that means that it's going to hold them back from titles.
Yamato, get in there.
Yeah, I can't agree more. The biggest problem for me is that, and it's strange because so much of this BLG core has played together for such an extended period of time in the past. It feels like 5 individuals on a team. Like, it doesn't actually feel like a team. It just feels like everyone is often in their own world, on their own approach. And I think that's really what's holding them back a lot around, team fighting and 5v5s and just like mini skirmishes, whether it's 3v3 or whatever, is that somehow this team it's so rare to actually see them all on the same page. And that is just, again, the names speak for themselves. Like, this is one of the craziest super teams in just name power alone that the LPL will probably ever see. I don't think the ceiling can get high. How do you make the ceiling even higher? Like, you
Tarzan and Kyle, you changed, like you get Tarzan and Kyle.
Like you get Tarzan and Kyle. That's about it, right?
Which you can't even do because of import things, by the way. But you probably get Tarzan.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's nuts. And even in this BLG AL series, they defaulted to old reliable. They got the box out. They got Galio Kindred out in game 3, and they still looked homeless.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating watching this team because everyone knows that this team should have the capability to just kind of wash the LPL. Just being honest, they should wash the LPL. Even this AL team in its current iteration, they might be top of the LPL. They might be going to playoff seed 1. They don't look super convincing, man. Like, game to game, when you really watch how they play games, they don't look super convincing compared to like last year's form. Like, this is just a fact of the matter. And the fact that BLG don't look like they can dominate them is really just bizarre.
Because, just jumping really quickly on this, I think that what should be the fatal flaw of AL is their laning in top lane and bot lane is not good enough. Yeah, I think Flandre is perhaps like the worst laning top laner of like our elite top laners.
He's been having a stinker this year.
The thing is, he's so bad in lane. but it doesn't matter because he's so good in team fights. I actually still thought he was the best top lane in the LPL because it doesn't matter what happens in lane. He's so good in team fights. Now, typically, Bin would be the person to run him through and it wouldn't matter, especially with lane swaps denied. They tried it with the Aurora, but Bin isn't good enough to punish that anymore. So what the hell do you do about this? That's meant to be their flaw, and BLG can't even win through that.
Well, are we just forgiving On for just how many random deaths and how many times he's just throwing the shit away? Because I'll watch Viper and be like, man, I wish you were back here at On Life Esports. I can't believe you opted into this. And then you just see On just walk right in, die, and then the play's over. Everyone walks away. You give up all pressure.
Yeah, but like this is the price you pay for On. If you don't love him at his 0 and 9, what the hell are you doing? Flashing into bushes as Bard because he doesn't see a Renekton in there and just completely throwing the game. Then you don't deserve him at his complete solo carries. I actually think On gets way too much flack because this is, what kind of player On is. And the problem is the support pool in LPL is not actually that good. You basically have like On and Kyle and then a bunch of people who are like mid-tier trying to be good. On is still like second best support in the LPL. It's just you have to deal with a double-edged sword. It's just a pain of being a BLG fan.
Even the mid-tier, like just for clarity, like even the mid-tier, like after that gap supports, like on an individual level, they're all psychopaths. Like they are going to do the exact same thing On is going to do. Arguably just worse. Like the only individual player I can think of off the top of my head is like maybe Perukia on EDG. Like that'll be like the only.
I actually think Air has been pretty good.
Sure, Erhar's actually, actually, I can respect the Erhar shout too. Where it's like just these two guys, are the only ones who are gonna like be willing to make plays and like it's gonna look funny when it misses, but at least they're gonna do it right. And there's like tangible room and above their head to actually develop and grow. Whereas with On, I don't feel like we're gonna get much more out of On. Like On as a player, I think is, I don't want to say past his peak, but I don't think he's gonna re-peak, right? Like if that makes sense. Like he's probably still roughly in that peaking period, but he's not gonna get much better as a player. Whereas I think there's room for Erhard to grow. There's room for Perukia to grow.
Yamato, get in there.
It's like in my mind, On has always been like the canary in the coal mine. Like I think On, like in the sense that I think if On is kind of running it down, it's usually because other things aren't in place. Like what On does only works if everyone else is like on point with what they do. Like On at his best, still like so complete as a player in the sense that he plays like range supports and melee supports really, really good. His lane phase always was insane when they were like really, really sharp. I think that what he does, he min-maxes and he's going to look and create opportunities. And if his team is not there, it's very like Hilly-esque, like Hilly-sang as well. It's like if the team is in a good place, everything he does makes sense and everyone can take advantage of what he creates. But if not, it just looks silly. So On always gets a pass from my side. For me, with Billy, I think straight up, ever since they lost this World Finals against T1, it's as if like a player like Ben, he had so much aura back then, He threw his jacket, he's in the conversation together with Zeus of being like, the best top laner of all time. Like this was supposed to be like a rivalry that spawned and brewed and was amazing. And then we just had like this sudden turn of events where Ben gives us glimpses into his mindset where he's saying that he's still the best after losing and that splits don't matter and all that bullshit, and
to be fair, he's always been like that. He's just the way he is.
It's just that it rubs you differently when you get smacked around, like it's just it's just the tone of it just is just completely different when you are clearly not like by every stretch of the imagination just the best. I think with Billy, in my mind, like Yamato, you said it best. It's like they play best when they play like a side lane game, like when they're as far away from each other as possible in the game. Then good, because it's like I don't know what goes on. How do you coach this team? Like this team has just seemed like uncoachable for the longest time. We always hear like the weirdest dramas coming out of Billy, and I feel like it represents itself in the way they play too. I don't know if anything shifted after that finals that they lost, but ever since that happened, I haven't quite felt the same about them. Like they lost the top esports in winter and it was just so off. They lost like a BO5 versus, or Thunder Talk. Was it Thunder Talk? And then like,
it was Thunder Talk, and it was my goat Beitran who then joined the team after.
Yeah, it's like,
them.
bro,
My goat 1xn.
Bro, this is like season 2 bullshit. It's like we lost against their jungler, so we need to get him.
Well, also on that note as well, like specifically on the Ben thing, in that game 5, which that broke their domestic win streak, because BLG hadn't lost a best of 5 since like 23. I think they went 24 completely undefeated in best of 5s, I want to say. And Knight hadn't been defeated in a best of 5 since like 22 summer, when he won his summer title. Bin got solo killed by Hoya playing Camille against him. He's not even a good Camille player. Like game 5, this guy was getting solo killed. You're absolutely right. Like BLG, there was a point where you just believed that they could do anything. They'd have bad drafts, but they'd outplay it. You didn't see it in like the game 5 World Finals that they lost, right? That was a draft where they were playing full dive into full anti-dive. Realistically, that game should have been unplayable, but they were so good at that point that they could outplay those kind of drafts. That just isn't the same anymore. They haven't been able to do that for a very long time. I don't know whether it's just not being able to thread the needle. I don't know whether Fearless has really affected their understanding of some matchups. I think that's probably a little bit overstated. I think they just don't play the matchups as well as they used to. Like, the aura of every single player is starting to get tarnished. And I know that's very, like, vague, but it genuinely just feels like they're just not the same players anymore in terms of confidence.
I just wanted to add, like, the final point for me, because at least last year, I gave Bin somewhat of a pass because the game really changed in the sense that, the top lanes that were the best was, like, Flandre, Doran, and then Keen was just, like, the GOAT because he just played carries and played like the side lane game like perfect. But Doran and Flandre got a lot of value because you just needed to show up to Drakes, have good conditions, always be ready for swaps. Your isolated 1v1 was a lot less important. You were playing an information game, a survival game. And Doran and Flandre were so good at this. And Bin and Zeus were kind of out of sorts because they couldn't leverage their lane strength. And now, in this meta, you're supposed to be like, you're playing isolated 1v1s, you can do some deep cut counters, you can go Ignite if you want to, you can make the game dynamic if you really want to. I think that the player like Bin should rise up to the challenge, but he just played, like if I see the guy playing standard matchups, it's like he's just phoning it in. Like he's not, there's no fire there. I remember Bin when he played like after the Suning, and then he played on BLG before they got the insane Tabe boost. Like he was doing BDD shit on BDD, And then like finally his teammates landed in place and he got what he deserved and he played still at that same level, but I just don't see the same fire anymore. And maybe just losing a game 5 in the finals just sucks your soul out, who knows?
Yeah. I love that you bring up the type of meta. It makes me think of Merwin. Merwin's the type of player that would do that kind of stuff. And when you guys are thinking of Tarnished Legacy and the combo with On right now, I just looked up the stats. Just in terms of champions played type of player, it's Beryl. It feels like On is going through his Beryl arc, and the types of problems that BLG
oh my god, I hate that you're right. I hate
are
that
the
you're
same
right.
type of problems that D+ had with Beryl last year, where it's like, what is this? You have Showmaker, and you can see how much it's wearing on him, but then these random deaths that are happening, it looks like you're like, there's genius in there, but it's definitely not in this play, and you're constantly questioning yourself what you see with your eyes and what's happening what's happening on the screen and what with your brain. And that's what I feel like when I watch On here. So ultimately, let's wrap back around. We'll go one at a time. Keeper kick at the end of this split one. Who's going to first stand as the number 1 seed? Is it AL or is it BLG? Who you keeping? Who you kicking? Nightmare, you start us off.
Oh, anyone's Legend. I'm definitely keeping them. I think that they go to first stand.
Jamada.
Yep, kicking BLG, man. Like, too many inconsistencies. It's the call on ever since 2024 Worlds Finals. They just don't look the same. They've not had the same aura that's carried on all the way through 25 into this year. They'll never be the same team, man. It just feels bad. It just feels real bad.
Finally for me,
Yamato. Yeah.
Finally for me, just like I want the cosmic forces to be good and to punch BLG in the mouth, in the sense that they get a wake up call, but they're gonna play like shit, and then they're suddenly gonna make it through playoffs. And
Yamato, do you know when their wake up call should have been? Their wake up call should have been that 3-0 at MSI versus T1. That should have been the wake up call, and somehow it wasn't.
Bro,
So-
the world is unfair. Like they're gonna make it to first stand in the most bullshit way possible, and it's gonna suck. That's what's gonna happen. Just yeah, I'm a pessimist. So that's gonna happen. They're gonna limp in somehow, and then they're gonna lock in for one series, and then they're gonna make it through, and like it will be done. AOS is gonna.
JDG
They should
save
go.
us.
They should go, but it's not
No.
gonna happen.
It's
JDG
Weibo or bust.
save us. JDG save us. Just get us out of the nightmare scenario where BLG go and we know they're not going to do anything. I'd rather I'd rather one of the weird teams go just for the love of the game, just so they get that experience and the reps in.
So to answer you, I want to kick Bilibili, but I have no power, so they are being kept.
This is post final day of the season. Yamato, everyone, he's trooping through it for us. Oh man! All right, let us know in the comments below this week's keeper kick, AL or BLG at the end of split one. So we gave a lot of good context here on what we thought. Now, before we move on to more dumpster fires, but at least this one's over for the split, it's time to remind you about our friends that aren't a dumpster fire, but are fire. It's our friends over at Raycon. Now, with the Super Bowl done and dusted and the Winter Olympics this month underway, there's no better time to get inspired, push harder, and upgrade your workout routine. When you're training consistently, the right gear makes all the difference. And I've been using Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic, and they've changed exactly how I work out. Now, the active noise cancellation blocks out distractions so I can fully lock in whether I'm running, lifting, or training hard. My music stays crisp and powerful, and podcasts like ours are crystal clear. I can stay focused from start to finish. And right now is the perfect time to grab them because they're 15% off. Now, Raycon's Everyday Earbud Classic is packed with upgrades. They've got active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity so they can pair multiple devices at once, and a super comfortable ergonomic design that stays put no matter what you're doing. New colors are awesome. I've got the rose gold. They've been awesome, and it feels like an extension of my personality. And here's the kicker. Raycon delivers the same premium audio quality as the big brands, but at half the price, and add in over 3 million happy customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee, and there's zero reason to overpay. The quick charge function that comes with the case, 10 minutes gives you 90 minutes of gameplay or 90 minutes of playtime. And obviously, I've done that a lot because I'm a forgetful gamer. And then there's also the awareness mode. So when I'm outside, got to be aware of what's going on. It lets me hear what's happening around me while still enjoying the podcast. You've heard me talk about it multiple times before. I bought multiple different ones. Nothing's changing that so far. And if you haven't already, now's the best time to do it because the Everyday Earbuds Classics are here to help you go for the gold. Go to buyraycon.com/powerspike to get 15% off. That's buyraycon.com/powerspike to get 15% off. Thanks to Raycon for sponsoring the show and making Powerspike be the show that it is. All right, let's move forward to this week's dumpster fire, which was like 2 weeks ago's dumpster fire. And honestly, when I did the LCK show, Let's Cover Korea here on Last Free Nation, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, it felt like this event happened 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Remember? KT threw an insurmountable lead against T1. Unlosable. 14,000 gold lead. And all right, it happened against T1. It's in, group stages, no problem. But then they did it again here against the DN Automotive Supers. The same DN Automotive Supers that threw a 13,000 or like 11,000 gold lead last year to Bro. Still have that core. KT do it here. It was more egregious. They are now out of the LCK Cup. So they go from being top 2 team in the world to first 2 out, along with Hanwha Life Esports. Very weird thing that's happening over there in the LCK. And that's where this week's Everything's on Fire is. It's KT, Rolster, and the Winter Split. Let's get into it. Okay, Jamada, you lead off here. KT, Rolster, they're out. They are parts of 3 parts of the core that went to the finals. Aiming's been on the team before. They've got a world champion bot laner at support, and then they have President Palu, who I don't know how he still has a job after watching him on Bro all last year. This team is out. What can you say about how terrible this is for KT?
You know, like weirdly, I want to cope and be like, let's just kick aiming. Like that's my knee jerk. like that's my knee jerk. Like because his time on DK for me last year, I'm just so anti-aiming as a like I can't watch this guy play League of Legends and feel like the team that he's on is going to be successful in a clutch moment. I can't do it. But I can't really over criticize. Well, no, I can for the game too. But like, you know what I mean? It's just a tragedy. It like there's no other way to put it other than it's just a tragedy. You have the exact same repeat circumstance game state wise against DNS that you did pretty much T1, except it's better because you actually have champions that can siege. That I think that is like I can't remember all of the calls from the cast on the LCK that day, but I feel like they were making mentions not only that like KT had this lead before, but it's like, hey, there's no Akali, there's no Sejuani, like they don't have to dive to end the game. They could just sit here and theoretically just end it themselves. Like the composition was very self-driving. So to get turned on a 10k gold lead is one thing, but the fact that when you look at the enemy bot lane and it's Dr. Peter on the other side, like how, as a KT fan, how does that not just turn your guts inside out? How does that not just turn your guts inside out? Knowing that not only is it just like it's DNS after last year's like tragedy, yes, like the roster is different, but like just mentally in your head it's DNS, like they're still DNS. And no one really, I don't know what the vibe or the temperature check was on them keeping all 5 players off the back of Worlds Finals last year. But at least for me as an outsider, I felt like that roster was probably going to stick together. In my opinion, that's how I felt. I don't know about how it was in the LCK. And then for what is, let's just be honest, a downgrade as well in bot lane, right? I think especially on the support side of things, for me, like Pia had a massive step up that I think people weren't expecting, and he should continue hopefully to develop on this DNS lineup. It's weird. We're gonna have to just kind of sit here and fingers crossed, you know, they can do something in the LCK with this effectively locked top 2 in Genji and T1. But just the fact that KT have made the roster moves effectively that they've ended up making, BDD is jailed on this org for another God knows how many years. And their first tournament now is getting knocked out by the bot lane that they realistically should have kept. I don't know what the circumstances were, but they should have kept. Heike actually, Kino, good job, script writers. That's my assessment on this. That's my assessment on this knockout. I think after the game one loss versus DNS, you just know things are going to be bad. Like you just know, like aiming's on the team. That's it. Like that's like you lose game 1, aiming's on the team. You're not winning game 2. I don't make the rules.
Seems like you do.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah, Namir, what'd you make of it?
This is a psychological experiment to see how much pain one individual player can withstand. There's just nothing. Even by KT standards, this is cruel. Like KT are the most cursed team in League history, and I don't think it's close. Only team to ever win a summer split and not make Worlds. You know, they've been like trampled by like T1 on their road to becoming the greatest team of all time, and they're like, "Hi, we're here, by the way," just completely in the distance in the telecom war. And I just can't believe how anti-clutch this team is. I just can't believe it. When the first siege went wrong, when they lost from the 10k, they like lost on their 10k gold push. There were just very simple things they were getting wrong. Like this is something that Yagao said on stream, and it's just so simply put, but it's just 2 carries should never stand next to each other. You should never have 2 carries stood on top of each other. They funnel inside the top lane push, they go next to the wall, and Nico just explodes both of the 2 carries stood next to each other. Simple things like that really worry me, because you're a Korean League of Legends team. This is basic stuff. Your team fighting has to have better fundamentals than that. And I just wonder who's who's calling what in team fights. I don't think this team understands where they should be standing in team fights, really. And much like we were talking about back on the LPL kind of perspective, you don't win League of Legends if you're a bad team fighting team. And KT, they can get all the leads they want. If that's how you play team fights, this is always going to be a worry. I do wonder what has happened to the communication in the team. I don't know how much you get to hear from Coach Voice and the amount of the stuff being played from actual player comms as well. But at least from what I understood, actually, Cuz was really good at kind of organizing the team, and I don't know whether changing out bot lane has actually changed the way that he communicates with the rest of his team, because typically it's jungle support that communicate about a lot of things about the team. Because that allows carries to be a bit more free to decide what they're going to do with their agency and whatever. But it just seems to me that KT just don't have a clue on where to stand in team fights, and that is it's just really depressing to see after a team finally got like their golden moment, got to a Worlds Finals after all the heartbreak. Like, this is just an experiment in pain for BDD.
Yeah. Well, so in interviews, Ghost said he felt like he was brought into the team not necessarily just because of his support prowess, but his understanding of the game. He knows how to win games and close it out, compared to Paulo, who is a traditional career support who plays really well on Nautilus. But it feels like it's kind of been not the opposite, but like the mechanics of Ghost have been good. He's been landing hooks and abilities. However, it just feels like he's doing it at the wrong times. And the reason why he's been brought in hasn't been necessarily true. And I think the best way to sum up this moment here, that series, was at the very end, the second attempt at a backdoor by KT. It felt like they lost the Elder Dragon, and BDD is like, okay, guys, go TP in. We're going to TP in. Just follow me in. And there's just no way they were ever going to finish the TP. There was no way. You could still play the game out. They still had structures up. They could have just fallen back and held on for a little bit longer, but they just they TP bot, they dive at the Nexus in a way that they were never going to make it. And it just felt broken. It felt very hopeless and broken. When you look at this team, Yamato, from last year's meteoric rise into the offseason where they are trying to experiment, they get Aiming, who's at least a known quantity, and then just to shit the bed like this, and they're in the same lump as Bro and Hanwha. What do you think of this fire here?
I don't know, just BDD's life is just a Greek tragedy. Like, he's just Sisyphus, he's just pushing this rock, and he was at the top and he lost game 5, and it's like there's no continuity, like he's back now, and I don't know, like just like how they lost is just so bad. It's at the point like I watch this and I'm like, BDD, it's okay. Like, you have a right to be tired. Like, this has to be the most exhausted man on earth, Like, he's trying so hard to win, and he doesn't play like 150% like he had to in some games last year for them to win. But it's like, I can't blame him. It's so weird. What pisses me off the most about KT is you try to think about what the strategy was in some off seasons, and it was often like, either they make a massive push if they can connect some pieces, or they kind of take a step back and try to find like the next gen players, right? They did the KT super roster with Keen and Aiming, whatever. And then they took a step back and they kind of rebuilt, and then BDD was suffering. But at least it felt like, we're finding some pieces here. You benched Peter 8 times, but now finally he's gaming. You're reaping some kind of a reward from what you sowed. And then finally they get into an off season where you have the situation where Peanut is retiring, so the jungle pool is really dried up, and the mid lane pool is also really dried up. And you have this position where you have BDD and Kaz on your roster, and you have all these fucking free agents. And then we're thinking to ourselves, maybe this is the one where they make a push. Because you always hear these rumors like, they tried to get Pace, and then they couldn't, and then they settled, blah, 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 blah. Like, this was the year to make a push. If you don't make a push here, in this offseason that they had, if they didn't make a push with the free agents that were possible, like if they put together a team, like let's say they were the ones to win Gumayushi, and then they kept Peter, because Gumayushi, Peter, they are cute together, whatever, and then they just, could contest for a top laner that makes sense, and suddenly they have a product, with the Cuz and BDD advantages off season. But instead, it's like let's just tank it for one more year. So what's going to happen with KT when the BDD contract runs out? It's also at one point I'm going to have to blame BDD too, because he chose to stay in this team. I don't know like what they got on him. I hope he's getting paid. I hope we get to hear the stories of every time player salaries come to questions like, do you know about Impact Tower? Do you know about Faker Tower? I hope BDD has a whole city, bro. Like I hope he has a village, because otherwise I can't make sense of like his off-season decision making. Because it's like there was some off-season I could imagine like if BDD just went to if he just went over to China at some point and just filled out one of those rosters that just need a little push.
This would have been the year to do it too. I think.
Yeah.
Like if he was going to go to China, I think he should have hopped ship this year. There's plenty of teams he could have.
Nah, he should have just bought in on like the RAM market. Just get really rich off of that.
Oh my God.
Career's over now.
I think everything's been said. It is very exhausting, but this one, like I just hate it when the continuity takes a turn in a direction that doesn't make sense, and I felt like KT's story, just BDD's story, it's like how did they ever top? Probably they couldn't either way, but at least make it make sense. And I have to say, like usually I fuck with like with Jamada just when he says points, but I agree with the aiming point. Like if I this guy in BO5, so anything that like is important.
Any high stakes scenario, bro.
Anytime like this guy is the biggest like regular season Andy, it's like KT perfect split, and then it's like, where are you, bro? Buying wrong item that you're not allowed to buy static shiv on affiliates, buying piece of shit. I don't know, aiming just pissing me off. So I'm in a mood. Just continue. Just move on.
All right. We're moving on. I just final touching points here. They did, and you would know this, Yamato, because of how offseason works. They did make it to the finals, which does hamper your ability to reach out to teams and players because your team's still playing the latest. You can't really wheel and deal as much as if you're in a full-on offseason. You can, but it just feels weird. So maybe that's what happened with them getting to the market late. The DN Supers did not spend a lot of money last year. So all of a sudden, DN Automotive, the biggest car part manufacturer in the world, started splashing money, and they ended up being able to pay Peter and Dgon, who are no longer young guys. It was time for their payout. So I can see how all those chain of events happened. And oh man, I can't believe I'm defending. No, I'm not going to. Not going to do that. I think Ghost and Palu have been pretty shit, and that experiment is hurting everyone. But really, take a closer look at BDD.
Yeah, say how it is, man. Say how it is.
take a closer look at BDD. That's what I think we need to watch here, because he's the leader. It falls on his watch. Just like when Nongshim win or lose, it falls on Lehen's watch. If T1 win or lose, it falls on Faker's watch. That's how these team-centric things work here. And so I think he needs to be able to take some of the accountability here. And we as pundits need to watch him with a closer eye, not just give him a pass. That is this week's Everything is on Fire. What do you think of this KT dumpster fire? Let us know in the comments below. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Last Free Nation is anywhere and everywhere there are podcasts. So if you're just an audio only listener, you like to listen to Audible, Apple Podcasts, we got you covered. Like and subscribe there too. Helps us out a ton. And also you won't miss any of the content that we're pushing out. We have expanded across multiple different titles now. If it has an esport, we probably have a podcast for that recently into Dota, into Rainbow Six. So make sure to keep an eye. Valorant as well. Sideshow, my boy Sideshow joining the network. So make sure to keep an eye out for that if you're interested in some of those things. And of course, all the league content that we push out every single week. All right. So we've done a lot of negative. Now we are in playoffs and play-ins. So it's time for a little high key, low key, no key on some playoff dark horses from each region. And just to talk some NA, because we have a little bit of time, let's take a look at the markets over at NA with two of the top teams who just did battle and then somehow are playing again because of weird seeding and strength of schedule stupidity, which I appreciate was explained by the LCS stat guy. It was a strength of schedule thing. Cloud9 and FlyQuest did do battle. Cloud9 wins that one. Nice little sweep. They will do battle again in the upper bracket because for some reason, even though they played as 2-0 teams in the 2-0 setup of Swiss, FlyQuest strength of schedule is not as strong as I believe it was Sentinel's strength of schedule, strength of victories. And it wasn't by much. And so because of that, Cloud9 and FlyQuest are going to play again in a best of 5 in the playoffs. Currently, the markets are saying Cloud9 are slightly favored. And so that's where we lead off with this high key, low key, no key. It's playoff dark horses from each region. And so we've got 2 of the best candidates here in Cloud9 and FlyQuest. Let's get into this week's high key, low key, no key. Our playoff predictors. Let's go for it. All right. Jamada, give us your high key, low key, no key. You need to pick one from the 4 major regions. Sorry, LCP. I'm going to give the pass here to our
traditional 4 major regions. All right.
CBLOL doesn't even get mentioned, by the way.
Yo, Clario.
Shout outs, Coach Seal.
Love Brazil. Yep, Coach Seal.
BKS.
Yep, Loud. Love Pain Gaming.
Furia.
Don't have enough time to watch you guys, man. It just is what it is. Yeah, well, it seems as we're just talking about them. I think we'll just get it out of the way because I think it's the lowest hanging fruit of all time. I'm just very high key on C9. C9 look crazy good. Like, crazy good. Just on all fronts, they look significantly more polished than last year. I think a lot of the like pain points of like Blabber is doing stupid stuff around crabs. It feels like our former co-host might have this brother on a leash. He might have succeeded. We might have Blabber back, like prime Blabber, like non-griefing Blabber. It's possible. It's possible. But from top to bottom, Thanatos is still snapping his fingers on every single top laner in the league. APA he just looks like the best mid in NA right now.
Best mid in the league.
I said it yesterday. Not only does he look like the best mid in the league, he looks like he might, like, knee jerk here, but he might be the best mid in the way. Like, the only, like, when you think about it, it's just Caps and Jojo. It's just Caps and Jojo. That's the only other competition. And right now, he's playing, like, to me,
that's a stretch.
I'm thinking he might be able to do the thing versus these guys right now. I think very well he could hold his own and do his thing more than.
To Jamada's point, he does lead the LCS in player of the games.
Yeah, he hasn't not gotten a player of the game almost. I think he's 4 for 6 games. He's 4 out of 6 games, something like this. I think he's 4 or 5 votes on player of the game. And he's been the other candidate for the games that he didn't get it individually. So APA has just been ridiculously good, and I think a lot stronger than people even thought, especially coming off the back of last year. He looks like he's a brand new player on this team. Sven and Vulcan are still doing their thing as well, down in bot. And yes, I think the rest of the competition relative looks a bit weird, but that is just kind of what it is. C9, my high key pick for their playoffs domestically. I think my low key, and I've been big on them anyway, but I'm just gonna give it to Navi in a ULCS in a LEC Versus. Been super impressed. I still feel like they're the most coherent team. To me, I feel like philosophically, they are the kind of team that look well oiled enough that I think come playoffs and a best of 5 versus KC, I think they can get the business done. To be honest with you, I'm kind of sad that they're on the opposite side of the bracket because it means that we're basically not gonna see them until like round 4, assuming they win both of their best of 3s before round 4. But in a world where they meet before then, I could see them winning in a best of 3 for sure. And I think if it gets to a point where it's best of 5s, they might be oiled enough. And then my absolute no key, I think I will go over to the good old LPL. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give it to JDG. I think they're going to underperform. Actually, I get this weird feeling that they're going to underperform, which makes me feel really, really bad. I don't know what it is. I just get the gut feeling like Junjia's been having a couple of stinkers back to back, and something needs to change with him. Hopefully,
rumor is
soon.
they're looking at a replacement for him too. Actually, it's gotten that bad.
Wow.
Yeah, so they might have been stricken with the BLG curse. They might be the holders of the BLG trade out jungler curse this year. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, as much as I've also been a pretty staunch defender of JDG, I've really loved them as a team. They've been incredibly fun to watch. I think for their long-term development, it looks like Junjia is going to be a massive inhibitor if he doesn't change things up. And that's also going to impact Honkyu because they've been obviously the mid-jungle duo from CFO till now. So I'm pretty no-key on JDG, even though they quad top 5. They've been the team that have pushed BLG and AL individually on games quite frequently. I think they're going to underperform even to those expectations.
I like that call up just because we have to remember how young Honkyu is, and if this happens, he loses his belly button, right? He loses the person that he's kind of come up with and been able to rely on, and made this huge life move and career move to go to the LPL in a high profile team and league, and might be losing that, and he still has to perform and soldier on. So something to watch there as Jamada's no key. Nymera, what do you have here for high key, low key, no key? You got to use one, so you'll have 4, one from each region.
Wait, I have 4. Wait, high key, low key, no key. That's 3.
There's 3. Well, yeah, you get 4 regions to pick from, but
4 regions,
3
okay.
choices.
And is this for actual just overall in playoffs or dark horses? Because I heard the word dark horses. So I don't want to choose straight out favorites, you know.
My bad, actually. I guess you did say dark horse. That is my apologies. I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. I mean, high key, like they're
kind of on the cusp anyway at that point. Yeah. So I somewhat understand. Okay, so high key dark horse. I don't think there is a high key dark horse. Well, I don't think there's a high key dark horse in NA.
I mean, it's just FlyQuest, but the like after the
well, at that point, I'm like, it's going to be one of C9 and FlyQuest. That one feels. I mean, maybe you could. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to steal someone else because I'm not going to commit to anything else. Yes, there. So LEC then. I think high key. You already mentioned Navi, so I won't talk about them. Yeah, screw it. We'll talk about Vitality because Vitality are an absolute razor cake, and I wouldn't trust them with a playoffs thing on the line. I wouldn't trace them like that, but they have the ceiling for it. They actually have the ceiling to do some damage. Now the question is, will Vitality, for the first time, actually deliver on a promise? Who can possibly tell? Now Vitality have wasted more talent in Europe than I have ever seen. But I love Narco. I think this guy's so good. I think that Kazi is actually very good at clutching out games as well when he's actually given a position to do so. And I think Linsus, he took a lot of shit from the community over last year and this year as well, actually. But this guy, I really believe that if he sees an angle in the game, he's very good at executing it. And I think he actually has the boldness to go towards it too. And I think that Kazi Humanoid is a duo which kind of inspire each other, and it kind of fixes some of Humanoid's kind of so he can sometimes just phase out of a game. He can just brain off at points. I think that Kazi kind of brings him back into the here and now. So I think Vitality actually have the ceiling to mount upsets here. I think it's one of the reasons why. Look, we saw a lot of best of ones, right? But I think that Vitality actually do have the upper ceiling to take games off of all the best teams within Europe. So they're my high key. Low key, I'm going to go something different from LPL. I think low key Weibo are a very strong team if they get the right conditions themselves. Not strong enough to be anything like a favorite, but Elk might be the best AD carrier in the world. He's the only player from the LPL right now that could contest for that. And of course, there are players like Pays and Ruler who are excellent right now too, so it's not a hard and fast thing. But Elk, when you get something like Kaiser, I think he's played 5 games of it, 1 loss, but in his 4 wins, I think he went 15 kills, 17 kills, 18 kills, and 19 kills. This guy is utterly absurd right now. He was like my
40. That's Kaiser Elk.
It's because Gala doesn't need any calories, he's just too ripped.
Oh yeah, in fact, actually, the funny thing about Gala there. So for those of you that didn't catch this, Gala posts like a topless picture of it, like, wow, look at my physique and whatever. And basically, people are like, yo, that low body fat percentage actually has some negatives. It's like, oh, I'll try my best to like eat more then, basically. God, that was funny as heck. But yeah, I think Weibo are actually quite scary. I think that to your point, Jamada, about why there are some kind of scruples about JDG. One of the reasons is I think they got utterly diffed in jungle support by Weibo 2 times in 2 best-of-3s. I think that Jirja and Erha, very surprisingly to me, are maybe the best vision control duo in the LPL. Like, whenever they get ahead of the game is the map is just completely lit up, and I think that they're very, very good at finding these kind of creative engages off of that. Xiaohu will do a throw every now and then. He's actually been playing like 90% of a good game, then 10% is just utter garbage where he throws a game. But I look at this team and I'm like, you know what? For a team of players that haven't played together before, only Xiaohu and Erha had, this team's coming together pretty well. Elk has the firepower, and we've seen that they can actually out-strategize a team like JDG, who I think are vulnerable to jungle support play that gets them ahead of the game. So I actually think Weibo have, and of course then that's not counting in like anyone's Legend of BLG, right, which is where this is why they're not a high key, right? But I think that they have some of that explosive firepower through Elk to actually contest the top spots. Maybe there can be a miracle there. So then Noki, so Noki is just like they have no chance, right? Or is this what's the ruling on Noki?
Wanna be dark horse.
Want to be dark horse that's gonna fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
Stuck outside the house, no key, just ringing a doorbell,
Right, okay.
no answer.
Yeah, okay. Should have brought the key card or something, left one under the damn doormat. Okay, now this one's a little bit harder. Which team do I think there might be a couple in LCK where I'm like, how much do I trust a team like D plus Kier, for instance, where actually I think that Showmaker's really good, but do I think that they can make it through a bracket like this? I think D plus Kier maybe fits the spirit of the occasion here, where like they would love to be a dark horse. I just don't think they can make it through this bracket. I think that might sadly fall to their hands, where I'm like, there are a lot of players I think do have decent ceilings, but I think that unless Career and Showmaker are both having a good game at the same time, I don't think they're going to make a dent. They'll get past round 1, I'm sure, but I just don't think they'll get any further than that. So I think probably D plus fit the spirit of that question for me.
Dang, D plus is actually, I think, with a lot of our analysts, the trendy pick because of how. Yeah, a lot of guys are believing in Showmaker's form.
Oh, he's really good. I'd like them to do well. I'm just not sure if all the players will align at the same time, which is the issue.
I think this is actually a great candidate for Dark Horse. I think every other one, you're like, yeah, I see it. With D plus, that's the LCK Razor Cake. So that was pretty good. Yamato, what you got here?
So with no key, I think no key, all of LCS outside of C9, they ain't doing shit to my boy. Like,
Real.
I think
real.
C9.
Don't believe in Sentinels, Guardian, Aatrox? You don't believe in that?
It's just, I think the only thing that could be like C9, maybe if they get pushed to a game 4 or 5, but I don't think they will get pushed to there. I think that there's like certain champions that are important pieces for them from the support role and the jungle role that make their comps make sense. And I think when they are pushed in depth there, that's where I think the big question mark will be. But that's so far away for C9. And I think some of the losses on especially with how shit Team Liquid is, and with Flag was being like very early, like maybe they can grow into something. C9 have hit the ground running. I think even in the game they lost, like that's a game that they could have won. I just feel like they are the ones making the choices. They're the one who knocks. I think if they don't win the split, it would be a massive surprise. I don't think anybody's touching them. So entire LCS no key. My low key is a bit of a unique spin. I think the weird part about, for me, to consider like D plus, like it's like you have to win the split. You are gonna win a split with T1 and Genji in it. So like I just think it's all about these two teams, T1 and Genji. My low key pick might sound weird because of how hyped T1 is generally and everyone loving them, but I feel better about T1 winning a like LCK split than I have in forever. Like in past years, it was like, yeah, Genji is going to mop it up, clean it up, GG, and HLE is also in the mix. But T1 now, maybe it's the distance of the match, but I do feel like in terms of how strong they are in regular seasons, like we've seen some shit T1 regular seasons. Like that's been like a flavor. And T1 is not like perfect, but I like the scrappiness, and I do think that. When it comes to just like champion pool depth and going into the BO5s, I think there's a world where T1 is going to just win the split. And I know for people, it's like, oh, Fake is going to win a split. What the hell are you talking about? No, I'm talking into the context of Gen.G being as dominant as they are for the longest time. I do think that in a different world, I can see the D+ angle. I just don't see a world where they win a BO5 against T1 and Gen.G. That's like the stretch, bro. That horse needs to have some, horse force, some horsepower in those legs, like I can see the angle, if D+ was in any other region, in any other region, maybe, but just with that context, T1 is going to be my low key. Oh, low key, blah, blah. People are going to be mad. Who cares? My high key, maybe this should have been my low key, but who cares? My high key, in terms of LEC, I was going to give my take on who I think is going to win based on where the patch is going and also in terms of what the team has shown. I think, for me, if I should predict one that is like a dark horse, that isn't like, oh, KC is number one of the standing, blah, 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 I think MKOI. And I'm going to give my take, okay?
Yeah.
MKOI, in terms of how they play the map, I think how Elioya and Alvaro play together is absolutely nasty. I think that in terms of how they played the fundamentals of the game was almost like too good, where they do everything so right that they expect the enemy to do it right, so they miss opportunities where they have freebies. Like they suffocate teams, and I think in their losses, especially in the BO1s, I think in a lot of cases it was just like, oh, we're playing against Shifters, we're playing against Varus Nico with Sivir and Nautilus, and the game is over in 4 minutes. Or like the Kate Elise as well was an angle where they lost against, I believe, GX. These are very poisonous BO1 losses. And I think that the big thing that needs to change for MKOI in my mind is Jojo Pyun's performance, because he's been very, very inconsistent. And he's been just taking trades and
That's
taking
very
fights.
diplomatic of you.
It's like he's just been taking fights over and over again that are not necessary, and he's looking for angles that aren't really there. But I've seen Jojo Pyun be there in the past, and the big thing for me is the patch. Now with Phase Rush nerf, it becomes less mage heavy, and you have room to actually play playmakers. And if Jojo Pyun gets to play Ari together with Elioya's Vi, he's going to be back in the mix, back in the fold, no problem. And I think that's where Jojo Pyun is going to shine. So it's like my dark horse to win, the LEC is MKOI. I think the standings doesn't tell the whole tale, and I've been very impressed by many of their details. And I think with best of threes, and the caveat is that Jojo Pyun finds form on the new patch.
I love that. And, because of the segment you said earlier about what is expected out of top lane, and we're talking about the top lane meta being like, hey, Bin, we need you to start smashing the lane a little bit more immediately. And I alluded to it earlier. Merwin in the top side of the map, I think, is just one that gives you an advantage there. Someone in the chat, let me make sure I get it correct. FLJQPY, Flidge P, who's always in the chat, said MKOI best of 5 is going to slap. And I believe it. They're willing to cook. JoJo's willing to play whatever. That makes sense. And that's the kind of thing you want to see from a squad. And as much as you pick T1 as your low-key, caveating it domestic against Gen.G makes it, all right, I guess they're the dark horse. I'm not sure where a lot of us stand in terms of, is T1 a favorite over Gen.G or not? I think everyone's going to favor Gen.G until they see otherwise. They still haven't dropped a game this year. But I see it makes sense. And it feels like what Nymera was bringing up. Like, it feels like anyone else, there's no chance that everyone's a dark horse, because there's no chance they're going to win. And so we'll see what happens there with T1 as your no key, or as your low key. So here you go. Jamada didn't understand the assignment, and so he picked Cloud9, Navi, and JDG.
Well, Navi and JDG are fine picks, realistically. I just didn't get the high key pick. Yes, okay, no problem. My bad.
Yep. Nymera goes with Vitality, Weibo, and D+, and then Yamato finishes up with MKOI, T1, and all of the LCS is the no key. He's actually doing the LCK thing with LCS, but instead of like caveating with T1 is Gen G, then everyone else. No. There's your high key, low key, no key for this week on dark horses in their respective playoffs across the world. The thing that only Power Spike can bring you. Let us know in the comments below if you agree or disagree, where you agree or disagree. Did Yamato just cop out and pick T1 as a low key? Is it really a low key? Let us know in the comments below. All right. Finally, we go back somewhat to where we started with our Galaxy Brain Club. There were a lot of dramas that kind of popped out from the regions this week. Obviously, we covered KT and the dumpster fire that was another massive throw. But really, the LEC had their own caveats kind of come up, not only with, hey, were the teams conspiring to lose against Los Ratones to, make sure that the playoffs didn't have them in it, but also 113 just taking shots at Striker just out of nowhere, which was pretty cool. So we're going to dive into it. Just the little tidbits of league out of client things that you might have missed in this week's Galaxy Brain Club. Let's get into it. Himsub says, talk about Forsen. We talked about Forsen. There you go. All right. Let's start with the Striker stuff. So on Twitter, good old platform there, 113 just comes out of nowhere. Again, after playing some time in the LEC and just taking these shots. It was awesome at Striker. It's awesome to watch. Striker head coach over at Shifters. They fail to make playoffs there. And really just kind of airing things out that you just don't normally get to see here, Jamada. So why don't you take us through what you saw and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so for anyone who didn't end up seeing the tweet, it more or less boiled down to, and I'm sure our producer will bring the tweet up on the screen as well. You can't bench play, like mind you, he atted Striker, and I want to say it was also a quote retweet on the result of the.
It was BDS, like Shifters eliminated, and it's a quote tweet on that.
Yes, so it's like, you can't bench players for a whole week from scrims. You can't shout at your players in reviews. Yeah, before officials. And then there was something about adding players.
Adding LEC players to see what they were playing in scrims.
Yes,
on the client.
Like, not keys to success. Very sad. The very sad on the end is honestly icing on the cake. And yeah, this is just obviously a very, very big surprise. We typically don't get a lot of insight on how reviews go, things like this, scrims, etc. On the inside, obviously the benching players for scrims, that could be a multitude of different ones. Obviously, the big example that everyone's gonna obviously know is the Adam situation, right? Adam on BDS, was that 24 winter? I want to say it feels like an eon ago now.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So, Striker getting called out here by 113, who was on the was about for a little while, and it's kind of, I don't know how to take it. I don't know how to look at this, because I feel like sometimes things like this should just kind of just stay. I feel like any kind of drama like this just needs to stay like behind closed doors, you know. That's normally like my kind of take on it, unless it's like genuinely destructive, abusive, like esque behavior, which, to be honest with you, and it's because I come from a traditional sports background, like shouting in reviews, I don't care about this. Like that's just me. I know everyone's gonna have like differing opinions, right? Things can get heated when you're talking about the game and how you feel like things are supposed to go. Do I think it's like contextually, it can be contextually wrong? Absolutely, yes. Like there's a million and one reasons why actually popping off, especially as a leader of your team, right? As a head coach, doing that is not going to be beneficial to the environment. But sometimes your players need to hear it, and sometimes players are not going to want to hear it, and at times players are going to feel like it's unfair when the reality is it is fair, right? But it's all about perspective, and it's all about how players and staff interact with one another. So that's a point for me that I don't really care about. Now benching players is enough. Like that's an entirely different, because that can contextually be an ego thing. That can wholly be like a, oh, you're not listening to me? Cool. Go sit out like on some Jose Mourinho shit. Go sit out. You can miss this big game. I don't care. We can ruin the whole split right now. And then yes, the crop at the bottom of on the screen now is also perfect. Ice replying, "I did it for you," is just perfect. It's just perfect. Which really does make me wonder, because at least for me, and I don't know how, and I'll pass this on now to you guys. I've always held Striker to a relatively high regard. I feel like, at least for me, the teams or like the BDS that he's been on, I think the ceilings that they've achieved, I think have, at least from what I can see a lot of the time from eye test, been more than just a player-centric like circumstance. It's not like individuals like just doing their thing. It's looks like coached and habit like based behavior team-wide. But this kind of stuff coming out, it's like weird because I don't know how to take it, because it's coming from, it's coming from a place of not someone that's involved in the project right now, so there is always that air of bitterness that could be kind of staining these takes. And again, the kind of player that like 113 was, I could see 113 not liking the idea of being shouted at. I could, like, no one likes being shouted at anyway, but like extra, like there are players I think that are going to take things like that and environments like that a little bit weird.
Yamato, when situations like this kind of spiral and it's these weird shots afterwards, what do you think? What does that make you think of, both for this situation and situations that, I guess, if you were in that situation?
I think it's just there's a trail of evidence now. It's like we get to see so little. Even the stories that I know and hear, it's like these are not my stories to share, and I think most of the time things are internal. I think the fact that Ice backed them up, the stories that I know from former players that were on BDS, fuck you shifters, fuck you, it's a part it's a part of that. I think like from the outside, we had like a lot of strange decisions, like the Adam benching into him coming back like nothing happened. It's like if you bench a player in playoffs and then lose a series to MKOI and then they get to make finals, like that is a terrible fucking look. And unless he like did something so egregious that he can't come back to the team, you don't bench someone so late. Because what was the benefit of that? I was such a from outside, I just looked silly. And I think ever since the Crown era of BDS, I think that this has just been a team on a downtrend. I think they were lucky to find someone like Ice as their like replacement. I don't know why I did these with the fingers. Remove that. Edit that out, like my fingers. It's like they were lucky that they found a player that could like play super well, because Ice was really good on the team, but then he left and like it was just this roster has just been on a steady downhill. I can even say something, like Striker said, yo, if we don't make Worlds, I'm gonna leave the team. What happened to that, bro? What happened to that? Like, I think the fact that Ice...
I seem to remember there was a translation thing around that. I also questioned that at the time.
Bro. I swear to God, the French community can't lean on that perma, that the translation is wrong. Like, that's such a cop-out, bro. I don't give a damn, bro. The translation error can't be the cause.
No, it's just that I brought this up too at the time, but then some people actually gave some convincing arguments against it, so whatever.
It's just, either way, 113, the whole situation was also very weird, like how he like was removed from the team. BDS spent a 200,000 euro buyout on Bukada. Here they are, and to the point of like being intense in reviews or not. It's like the whole point of what 113 is saying is criticizing Striker's method that's ineffective. The only rationale for raising the heat is because it's effective. You don't do it out of a place of, I should increase intensity because that's who I am and fill the room with ego. I have only ever done it intentionally. It's like there's some players that react well to it, and there's a lot of players that react very bad to it. So it really, really depends on the case by case basis. And it seems like Striker has a method of doing things regardless of which players he has. And I personally, I'm not a big fan of that method in League. But obviously, I'm filling in a lot of missing puzzle pieces. I think the biggest screw up here for Striker, like the biggest issue is that I said I did it for you, bro. Like that is crazy, bro. A Korean player, bro. A Korean player came up and said, "Yo, that is just GG." I think that's done, bro. Like there's nothing else. There's nothing else for sure.
Did anyone else just kind of wonder what? I guess yelling Yamato. Yelling Yamato sounds like, feels like. I was like, he's. I don't know any League player that wants to get the heat under him like that. Maybe APA, Inspired, like all these Western players, and like those are the only ones I can think of, like APA and Inspired. Maybe
well,
Blabber.
It's quite a European thing, I think, where like, I mean, one of the classic examples is something like Forgiven, where like you have to like very aggressively defend your opinions about the game. And I can understand it from that, but you really need to know your player as well. If you ever get in kind of like raising the temperature like that, as Yamato was saying, you have to do it intentionally. It has to be done knowing the players that you're working with. And yeah, like Jamada was saying, in traditional sports, that's just the thing which happens. Typically, both in traditional sports and perhaps even more so in esports, you're dealing with very young, egotistical people who typically have, they're going from being the best player in their friendship group to the best player in their school to the region to the server, and that does breed a certain type of personality. The way that talent tends to develop in the West, I think probably less so in Eastern regions, probably less so there, but particularly in the West, the way that talent is developed, you do get some people who are used to being correct, not disagreed with, and not being pushed as much by authority figures, because authority figures don't actually have that much power on them. And particularly if you're a superstar player as well, a lot of management types will never want to be on the wrong side of you. And that can be a problem in traditional sports too. There are plenty of big sports players who are deemed too valuable to go against from a management perspective. And then that leads to situations where, you lose the dressing room effectively, where many football managers and the like have not judged that well, and then they lose their authority. So it's a big risk to take a decision like that, to raise the temperature, again, using that term. But the biggest thing for me in this kind of situation where this stuff comes out is it opens the door for everyone to start airing out bad stuff if it goes to a certain level.
Yeah.
Where if you're open about this stuff, you're opening a bad door to stuff. So you better be clean. Otherwise, people will fire back with stuff. That's because people forget that we're still in quite a young, unprofessional industry in a lot of ways, especially compared to so many others in traditional sports. And this will apply to all esports to a degree, right? It's still a very young industry with a lot of people who are, they don't have there isn't like a traditional kind of way to have a pipeline of talent on both a coaching and a player standpoint for a lot of different esports games. So if you're going to be firing shots like this, you either expect to not be playing again, so it's like a Dunzo manifesto, or it's something where it is so egregious or so one-sided that it kind of comes clean in that way too.
I think that was a really good shout there. At the end, with the coaches and how now you're going to go tit for tat. So you got to make sure all your ducks are in a row. Thanks 113 for that exciting little bit of spice. Also, shout outs to 113 with the win with Misa earlier this week, because he's playing with my boys, Hype and Way. Hero Hype. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, whatever. Bro talent. And then finally this week, the last little bit that we wanted to touch on here, because they had the best format probably of this first split since Riot mandated the 3-split thing. LCS had the weirdest thing happen. We touched on it at the beginning of the day. FlyQuest, who were 2-0, played the 2-0 team against Cloud9. They lose. They have the same game score as Sentinels. They never played head-to-head in the Swiss stage. And so it has like this weird tiebreaker because DSG also was 2-1. So you don't just go head-to-head. It's part of the whole Swiss thing. And somehow, by strength of victory, weighted strength of victory, Sentinels are the second seed. FlyQuest is the third seed. So FlyQuest have to play Cloud9 again, even though they were the ones that won earlier and were in the 2-0 part of the Swiss. And we have the tweet up here by Leo, the LCS stats guy, who I love this. Again, love this transparency by the people that want to get the message out. Hate this structure that just doesn't make sense. If this was a bracket, they came from the upper side of the bracket, they would be the number 2 seed. That would be that. But unfortunately, that's not the way it worked out because of a 3-way tie and using Swiss. Nymera, since you went last, you can go first here. What do you think of this? Like, how can this happen in 2026?
It's a 3-round Swiss stage with not many teams. This is, when I guessed it on the last time, this is the worry that we had with this kind of system. Obviously, you have to break a tie somehow unless you're going to play tiebreaker games. They didn't want to. I can understand that. Same kind of problems happening over in Europe as well, where there is a scheduling issue where you need to be very concise the amount of games that you're going to play. And yeah, this is the problem of Swiss with low amount of rounds, low amount of teams. It's not great at figuring out exact seeding. Which is, if you go back to the last episode that like when we were reviewing this format at the start of it, this is pretty much everything that we said there. It's just that it's happened in a really unsatisfying way. Now, I suppose, there aren't that many it's still a double elimination format, and you've only got a certain amount of seeds going towards first stand as well. So it's, at the end of the day, FlyQuest probably would have needed to face Cloud9 at some point. It's just really annoying to them that they have to do it so early in the bracket, especially after losing to them in round 3, which means that they have less time to go away, review, and then try and come back stronger, because you sometimes want a little bit of breathing room between series you play against the same team. But this is just the reality of Swiss stage with low amount of teams, low amount of rounds. It just happens like this sometimes. Now, it helped them have a fairly concise regular season. I mean, they played a certain amount of games within a certain amount of a time, and they have teams seeded out, and they were best of 3s, so there's some bonuses to that. But yeah, this is just the problem with working through that. Sadly, FlyQuest just ended up facing the best team in round 3, and losing against them. I think everyone here is pretty convinced that FlyQuest would demolish pretty much any other team in the bracket. But the problem is that they ended up not facing a team like Sentinels. They faced Shopify, who were the worst performing team in the LCS, which means that their opponent strength was really low. They faced the worst team. Even if they'd ended up facing, who else could they have faced? They could have faced, anyone of like Lion, Liquid, Dignitas, right? They could have faced any of them, and it probably would have helped their chances. I'm not sure mathematically who they would have needed to face to avoid this situation. But yeah, this is just the nature of the format, sadly. It has its own issues.
Yamato, like, if you're on a competitive side here, what do you even say to that?
I have to say, but the way Nymera talked about formats, how they are, it's as if it's like physics, the leaves in fall will fall from the trees, and that's
I have a physics degree. It's the way I communicate.
Bro, these formats are man-made, bro. These are man-made. This the same, bro. These formats are in the same brackets as like human-made wars, because, bro, like
what?
Like this, like the fact that.
Sorry, which war would you relate this to? Choose very carefully.
It's an analogy. Come on, no? It's just you go 2-0. You should be the second seed. That's it. That's such a simple fix. Someone should have seen that coming. This is just an oversight. This is just grief, plain and simple. It's on par with removing tiebreakers from like you have tiebreakers the entire time when there's BO1 round robins, and then suddenly you just remove the tiebreaker game because everyone loves an open end that is just random. Like, bro, let teams that have 5 wins and 6 play against each other. It would be more fun, no? It would be good content. Well, last year LCK had no spring finals, bro. I saw Ruler walk up on the stage being confused, pick a ticket, bro. He picked up a ticket, bro. What was that, bro? He's just, the execs were like, you know what we want less of? Finals. These formats, they drive me insane. And I think this is such a oversight. I think this is just plain and simple, like a massive mistake. Someone done goofed, and they're sitting there like, oh, shit, we didn't think about this. And I think that's all it is. It's, I swear to God. There's
It's
no
just
other
like, how do
explanation.
you fix it, like in the rulebook, effectively? Because the teams need to know what they're getting into, and they
Yeah,
have
of
to
course.
decide
no,
that
It's like in
for the space. So how do you
hindsight,
fix it?
you can't fix it. In hindsight, you had to set the rules properly beforehand, right? 2-0 needs to be meaningful, like plain.
So basically, 2-0 should be the seeding match, and both should go through. That would be the way you decide
I
it.
think it's like 1 and 2. It needs to be a 2-0. I think that's the only way if you have such a short Swiss system, right? I guess it's the only solution, really.
Jamada, not a ton of meat on the bone left, but get in there.
I don't buy this though. I don't like it is just such common sense. How does this outcome not happen? And then someone like there's like so many when this is being made, how does someone like if it's a room of people, which typically actually it actually kind of is, like usually it's a room of people making this. How does not one person go, oh shit, actually guys, if the team that's 2-0 is 2-1 and they have a weaker, then they could what? So no one saw this. How 3, 4, 5 people probably make it what? Not one person. And then when the draw happens, I'm sorry, at that point, just go, ah shit, this is dumb. Fuck the rulebook for a second. I'm being dead serious. Fuck the rulebook for a second. Just don't even let it. Don't even follow. It's backwards. It's backwards, and I don't even buy the like. No, and I don't even buy the like. What do you call it? The like no type, bro. What do you mean no? You have a tiebreaker for fucking 7th, 6th. 7th, 6th. You have a tiebreaker. But you don't want to do one for 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, in this format, it hurts. Yeah,
like come on, man. This is the kind of thing which the biggest win for me would have been they do this draw and it's like, oh wait, guys, C9 are allowed to pick FlyQuest again. Maybe we shouldn't let them do that. Maybe we shouldn't let them do that. Like I don't know. It's actually aggravating because this is the region that actually arguably has the best format. Not even arguably, I think it just does. Like it has the best format. So
It's pretty good.
For this to be the stain that is like here, and like obviously from the FlyQuest perspective, imagine how frustrating that to have been. Like you're on the way, you're probably like just about back home or on the way to the facility, and then you're watching the stream on your phone, and it's like, oh, the draw is we're playing C9 again after they just beat our ass, and they effectively like low-key 3-0'd us. Like I don't know, man. Just insanity to me. This is the kind of thing which I think almost should like happen, and then on the spot they should go, "Oh, this is dumb as fuck," and we should just undo it. Like,
yeah,
no,
but
we can't default into anarchy, brother. Like,
this is no, but like, come on, man. Like, it's silly.
You can't change it. You can't change it. It's in the rules.
No, I'm sorry. I don't
man.
care. Like, if it is so stupid and everyone, because this is like. The people that even like the stats guy agrees, like mental, like everyone is on the same page.
The problem is like basically,
is on the same page.
No,
like,
but how do you prove?
No. It's not like this is like one person or like a group of. There's not a group of people defending this and going, yeah, it makes sense that C9 and FlyQuest are playing again in round 1. Everyone thinks
No, of course it
fucking
doesn't.
Stupid.
Yes, but how do you put that? How do you change the rules to make sure? Because at the end of the day, you need to have a rule book which covers this from the start, so teams know what they're getting into. You can't do it retrospectively, and that's the failing of this. Because like, even if you'd switched around the round in which FlyQuest and Cloud9 had played, if they played in round 2 instead, the same eventuality would have happened. So it doesn't. I don't even think it fixes it if you go, oh, the 2-0 teams, they're just seeding between first and second. Because what would have happened if FlyQuest and Cloud9 faced up 1-1 and then face the same opponents in the for their remaining matchup or whatever? That would have basically ended up being very, very similar. So how do you fix it in the rulebook? This is the problem with a low amount of Swiss rounds. It doesn't give you the correct thing. We've seen this at Worlds as well. We've had teams which are just like, oh shit, you got the hard draw. It's a problem. How do you fix it in the rulebook?
I think this is entirely different because this 8 teams is such a simple fix. It's the team we verbally said it. It's the team that's the other 2-0 team that doesn't.
So you just shouldn't be able to pick the team which you played in round 3. Is that what you'd fix about it?
Basically,
yeah,
well, they qualify seed 2, so their seed 2 they play whoever's technically seed 3 and seed 1 plays seed 4. I don't even think seed 1 should be able to pick an opponent. Or however you want to do it, because obviously you've got the lower bracket, Lion and TLR. Just
at that point they would have to pick, right? Because there would be 2 teams with the same seed, right?
Sure.
I do think Fly should just be second.
Yeah. Like however you want to do it, but yeah, like Fly should just be second. There's no world where this ever should have been.
But like, what in the games that they played would put them as second over Sentinels? That's the problem. Like, well, what do you do?
Because they never played Sentinels. I'm starting to see what Nightmare is saying. I'm starting to see what Nightmare is saying.
Like, it's just eye test. You're just saying they're better on eye test, and that doesn't work for a rule set. You have to have something tangible so teams know the game that they're getting into.
Well, then you actually take the time to just do a fucking tiebreaker. You either take the time to do a tiebreaker, right? Or you just accept that they won 2 games in a row and their only loss was to the other 2-0 team, and that is the it's like the strength of loss. Like, I think that weighs more than the strength of, like, to me personally, I think that's more important. And that way you just don't have to do the whole backwards bullshit where, like, okay, now we have to like, it just fixes things and it's simpler. Also, I think, as many people have like kind of mentioned over the years, the viewers are stupid. Viewers can't understand any complex, like, imagine you are an average Joe and this is the outcome for this has to be the most confusing thing of all time. Would it not make more sense to the average viewer who's barely tuning in, or like who's only tuning in for their team? Like, imagine you're a FlyQuest viewer and you only watch FlyQuest games. You watch them lose to C9, and then you go away, come back, they're doing the draw, and now they're playing C9 in round 1 after going 2-0 and then only losing to C9 in Swiss. How do you explain that to an average viewer? How do you explain that to an average viewer in a way that makes sense? Without a long explanation. There isn't one.
Just final thing to add. I do think that there is a difference. Like basically you go undefeated longer, right? It's not eye test. You're going undefeated longer. And I think you can like basically extract that to be the benefit. It's like, oh, you're 2-0 and you didn't lose for longer, and that could be like the decider for you to get the second seed from that position. I just wanted to add the final point. You know what Riot has done so well is that we don't know who to blame.
No, you know who to blame. You know who to blame. In this specific case, you know who to blame. There's one person on LCS.
Mark Z.
There's one person on LCS.
Mark Z is just the front, bro. He's the front, bro. He's the salami shop, bro. Like, bro, he's the salami shop.
This is part of
You need to know the power behind the throne. Who's the power behind the LCS throne?
I'm serious, bro. It's like, I don't know who to blame for the LCK format. I don't know who to blame for the LEC format. I don't know who to blame for any of these formats, bro. The shadow entity of Riot Games is genius.
No. In this very specific example, Mark Z could like wave his hands like he's Thanos with all 6 Infinity Stones and the Gauntlet, and he could undo this in one swoop. Let's not pretend.
Nah, blood. You really think Mark Z's got that kind of power, bro? He's main tank, bro. He's main tank. He's a shield up perma, bro. He's doing TBC dungeons right now, bro.
For this specifically, I actually think he has the power to do it. I don't know why. I just get the feeling this is one of those things.
But wouldn't Sentinels say no? Because they'd get a harder round opponent. They would just say no.
Sentinels, bro.
And that's the problem. You can't go
Jamada, you're losing me, bro, with this anarchy bullshit, bro.
Fuck Sentinels. No. Listen.
Bro, I'm very principled. I was even pissed that they put Fearless the whole year just to fuck up Peanut's year, bro.
Yeah, same. But
You decided to put Fearless the whole year. Imagine you make an off season, you don't know what the format is for winter, and then suddenly Fearless all year. It's like, fuck you, Delight.
Just replace the rule book with tiebreakers vibes. That's it.
I hate this because, this is going to be like the one part where someone's gonna be like, hey, Mark, they were talking about you on the podcast. You're going to watch it, and then Jamada goes, fuck Sentinels. Fuck one of the partner teams. All right.
I like this. We are like we had the D&D, like the spectrum.
Alignment shot, yeah.
I'm unlawful neutral. Jamada's unlawful chaotic. And
unlawful evil here.
Yes.
I'm like, you decided the format, fucking suffer.
Yeah, this is learning lessons. The example I'll leave us with as we close off this week's episode is that the LCK Cup, the first one ever last year, did have that stupid T1 versus Hanwha Life best of 5 single elimination out of the cup as the very first round in playoffs because of the seeding format thing. They fixed that. They gave the benefit of going to playoffs to the top of the losing group. So you would imagine that cooler heads will prevail through mistakes and hopefully LCS who have a great format, will maybe find a better solution here in the future. When you think, and going to Yamato's point, actually the only one that I don't know is LPL, because in LCK it's the general secretary, Aiden is his name, his English name. You've got Max, right? Max, right? Take it to the max for LEC, and then you've got Mark over there for LCS. So you do have heads to point to and send your tweets to, that how you feel about how great the formats are. But in this case, I do agree. Once it's in there, it's in there. I felt almost all of us felt the same way with the changes to Fearless, where it was like, this is better for the product, but this is so ass. This is so ass for just competitive integrity for the year, because otherwise teams could have like constructed their rosters differently or not. You just, KT just ends up picking up whoever this year, and they knew what the rules were. So, all right. That does it for this week's episode of Power Spike. Again, Nymera, thank you for joining us here. It was great to have you. Let us know in the comments below your favorite parts, the commiserations for Los Ratones, and how much you love Yamato, because it does suck that things didn't work out their way, and the jolt of energy and enthusiasm that went in not only to the LEC but across LoL esports, and having him lead and hear the way that he discussed how things went out relatively diplomatically, and then showing up the day afterwards to work. Jamada and I will be doing our thing. Jamada is co-streaming all the matches. There we go. Sorry, my brain kind of farted. Nymera casting the matches over on Onivia, and we'll be putting out other content across of LFN and Yamato. Just watch that space. Yamato going to take some time, and he's going to come back with vengeance. And we're going to be excited to watch and see it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for more Power Spike. Bye-bye.